showed you the importance of genetic variance in shaping the evolutionary response to selection over time. And last, I showed you how we visualize complex fitness surfaces and can compare them over time. So hopefully, these three empirical, statistical, and theoretical methods will contribute to how we understand how natural selection translates into the evolution of populations over time. And although this is the end of my thesis, I hope to go on to refine these methods. When I do a postdoc, I'll also be exploring the quantitative genetics of evolution. And so I would really appreciate any comments or questions anyone has. And I'll take those in a minute, but first, I have a lot of people to acknowledge. So first, I'd like to thank my advisors. Jean Claubert is my advisor in France, who oversaw the field work, and he contributed a lot of advice and money to that project, and unfortunately, he can't be here today. Charles has been like the best advisor. I feel like a very lucky person. I went into his lab and was treated as a colleague, and I talked to other grad students, and I just sort of gloat a little bit because I've had a really good experience. I drive an hour from work every day, and every day I came in, we had a fascinating discussion about science and we're bantering back and forth and had a really good time. So as you can tell, he's given me a lot of intellectual input, but it's been really fun, and hopefully Charles and I will be collaborating on all that beetle data I still have yet to analyze. I'd also like to thank my committee, Nick Gatelli, Maggie Epstein, Josh Bongard, and Joe Schall, who was on my committee for the 99% of this. And they all really, for all of them, I've spent quite a bit of time in their offices asking questions, and they've really contributed a lot to my research. There were some other people that collaborated on these papers, so Charles, Jean Claubert, and Dennis Hasselquist contributed to my Podarcis research. There are lots of people that helped me in the lab or the field with whom I could not do any of this work. First is Kelly here, who is responsible for making sure that I didn't blow up the beetle lab. And she really couldn't have done it without her. And then Amandine Gass was a master's student that helped me in the field. She's now doing her PhD at the museum in Paris. And then Wing-Yin Lo, Phoebe Knowles, Kim Coakley, Pat Lowry, and Ellen Paquette are undergrads at UVM that did an amazing amount of beetle work for me in the lab. So I used some other people's data for these analyses. James Schwartz for the beetle data, Ryan Calsbeek for the anolis analysis, and then Alexis Shane for another more multidimensional selection analysis that I didn't include here. And then I've received some really great funding to do this PhD. The last year of my research has been supported by the Vermont EPSCoR Complex System Research Assistantship, and without that, this talk would have been about 5 slides, so I really appreciate that. And I want to thank my husband for getting me through the last 4 years without too heavy of medication. He's really, if you're doing a PhD or have done a PhD, you understand that it can be very stressful at times, and having someone to keep you sane and calm is really what you need. And I would like to thank my parents, of course, for supporting me up until this point and for coming all this way and just being overall supportive.